The sky above Earth was filled with strange lights, dancing like stars on a dark canvas. Massive ships, shaped like giant metal birds, descended slowly from the heavens, their sleek forms gleaming as they approached the planet's surface. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, crafted from materials that seemed to shimmer in ways that defied understanding. The beings inside the ships were not human, but something far beyond human comprehension. Aliens from a distant galaxy, each one taller than the average human, with skin that glistened like polished silver. Their eyes glowed softly, casting an eerie light that seemed to penetrate the very soul of anyone who looked into them. They had come not in search of war, but out of curiosity. They had traveled across light years of space to learn about this small blue planet, to study the creatures that lived on it, and to see if Earth's inhabitants were as advanced as their technologies suggested. As the ships hovered above Earth's cities, the people below were struck by a mix of awe and fear. What did these beings want? Would they bring peace, or would their arrival signal the end of humanity? The people watched, mouths agape, as these alien beings began to descend from their ships, floating gently to the ground. They were not like anything Earth had known before. Tall and graceful, they moved in a way that was almost fluid, as if they were one with the air around them. Their leader, a being named Vixal, spoke, but not aloud. The voice entered the minds of the humans, gentle yet commanding, as if they could hear the thoughts of this alien directly. "We have traveled across the stars," Vixal's voice echoed in, "the minds of the Earthlings. We have witnessed many worlds, and we have seen creatures that defy your understanding. But we come here to learn about your world. Show us your creatures. We are curious to know what beings roam this planet." A wave of unease washed over the humans. The aliens were not threatening in their demeanor, but their words made it clear that they had seen much in the universe and were unimpressed by Earth's creatures so far. They viewed themselves as superior, capable of understanding and conquering everything they encountered. They believed Earth's animals were nothing more than primitive beings, weak and unworthy of much consideration. But this was not a challenge. It was a request for knowledge, a simple request to learn more about the life forms that called Earth home. Vixal's voice continued in the minds of the humans. "We are ready to meet your strongest beasts. Show us the mightiest creatures your planet has to offer, and we will judge their strength." The humans were taken aback. They were proud of their creatures, the magnificent beasts that roamed their land, but they were unsure how to present them to these superior beings. The world had long believed in the strength of lions, the majestic creatures of the savannas, the elephants whose size and power were unmatched, and the fierce predators that ruled the forests. Could these aliens truly understand the power of these animals, creatures that had evolved on Earth to survive and dominate? A group of humans stepped forward, determined to show the aliens the might of their planet's creatures. They first brought out the lions, the kings of the African savannas. Their golden fur shimmered in the sunlight as they paced gracefully across the field, their deep roars echoing across the land. The aliens, standing at the edge of the field, looked on with mild amusement. These lions were strong, no doubt, but, to them, they were little more than large, powerful cats, easily outclassed by the technology and capabilities of the aliens. The lions, despite their majestic appearance, were just another form of life to be examined and dismissed. "This is your king of the jungle?" Vixal's voice echoed in the minds of the humans, laced with a hint of mockery. "We have encountered many creatures far stronger than this. Your beasts rely on brute force, but their power is limited. We have seen creatures capable of much more." The humans were silent, unsure of how to respond. They had hoped the lions would impress the aliens, but the aliens seemed unfazed by their strength. They were not here to judge by appearance or size alone, but by something deeper, something more refined. Next, the humans brought out elephants. Massive, slow-moving, and gentle, these creatures were revered by people around the world for their strength and wisdom. The elephants trumpeted loudly, their large trunks reaching for the sky as they moved across the field. The aliens watched with interest, but their expressions remained unchanged. The elephants were impressive, certainly, but their size and slow pace made them appear cumbersome in the eyes of the alien visitors. These creatures may be large, but they are too slow. Another alien, Hral, spoke through the minds of the humans. Their power is only useful when they are not threatened, but if they are challenged, they will be outmaneuvered by far quicker opponents. The humans stood in silence, feeling a growing sense of disappointment. The aliens didn't seem to appreciate the elephants' wisdom or their strength. They only saw weakness in what they didn't understand. Then came the bears. Mighty, fierce, and covered in thick fur. These predators were feared across the forests and mountain ranges. The humans brought out a large bear, its claws sharp as knives, its roar shaking the earth beneath its feet. The alien leaders observed the bear carefully. It growled and paced, its muscles rippling with every step, ready to face whatever challenge came its way. The aliens, however, remained unimpressed. This one is stronger, but it is still a beast of instinct. It relies on its size and strength to win. But we are not impressed by such simple displays, said Vixal, his voice cool and detached. We have seen such creatures before, but they do not compare to the beings we encounter across the stars. The humans' hearts sank. The aliens didn't seem to recognize the power, the majesty, or the strength of Earth's creatures. They were too busy comparing them to the superior beings they had encountered on their travels through the galaxy. The aliens had seen creatures capable of faster speeds, sharper intelligence, and greater abilities than anything Earth had to offer. And they believed that Earth's animals were no match for the powerful civilizations that had mastered the universe. As the last of the creatures, the bears, were led away, the aliens remained silent for a moment, seemingly lost in thought. Then, Vixal spoke again, but this time his tone was different. There was no laughter, no mocking. Instead, there was an unexpected curiosity. Is there no other creature? No other beast worthy of our attention? Vixal asked, his voice softer now. Perhaps we have missed something. The humans looked at each other, unsure of what to do. What could they show the aliens that might surprise them? What creature on Earth could possibly stand up to these visitors who had seen so much, who believed themselves to be superior to anything the planet could offer? And that was when they decided to reveal something that the aliens had not expected: the honey badger. Deep in a wildlife reserve tucked away from the eyes of tourists, a small team of handlers prepared the next creature. It wasn't large. It didn't have claws as long as a bear's or the mighty roar of a lion. It didn't weigh 1,000 kilograms like an elephant, nor did it look majestic. In fact, by all appearances, it looked ordinary. Black and white fur, short legs, and a low, stout body. But those who worked with Earth's wildlife knew this creature's reputation better than most. The honey badger, feared not for its size, but for its unmatched fearlessness, stood inside its enclosure, pacing slowly. It had already shredded through reinforced barriers in the past and taken bites from venomous snakes without flinching. Now, it was about to meet beings from another world. Word spread quickly through the alien ranks about the next creature. Curiosity stirred in their minds, even if their expressions stayed calm. Many believed this was simply another attempt to delay their conclusion, that Earth's beasts were weak. Still, something in the human's voice when they mentioned the honey badger had given them pause. No exaggeration, no theatrical display, just a quiet confidence. That intrigued them. The field was cleared once more, the same open space where lions, elephants, and bears had walked before. But this time, only a small crate was placed at the center. The crate's size seemed almost comical compared to the massive creatures that had been shown before. The aliens, with their silvery skin and glowing eyes, exchanged glances. What could this tiny animal possibly demonstrate that others had not? Still, their leader gave the signal to proceed. The crate's door was lifted, and out stepped the, honey badger. It didn't roar or growl. It didn't even pause to look around. Instead, it walked with a casual, steady pace, nose to the ground, sniffing. Its body was low, powerful, and alert. There was something in its movement, not fear, not hesitation, but absolute certainty. The aliens watched closely now, their attention sharpened not by appearance, but by the strange energy this creature carried. A simulation drone hovered down beside the honey badger. It wasn't an attack drone, just a small, hovering machine, meant to observe and interact. Its cameras zoomed in, its lights flashed gently, scanning the small animal's body and behavior. The honey badger looked up, stared directly at the drone, then lunged. With a speed that startled everyone, it leapt into the air and latched onto the floating machine. Its sharp claws gripped the smooth metal, and its powerful jaws began tearing into the drone's surface. Sparks flew. The crowd gasped. Even the aliens blinked in surprise. The drone, trying to escape, activated mild defensive pulses. Shocks ran through the badger's body, but it didn't let go. Instead, it growled, bit harder, and tore a panel free from the drone's body. The machine crashed to the ground in a puff of smoke. The honey badger stood over it, unshaken, fur bristling, eyes daring for more. A murmur passed through the alien observers. This was not instinct alone. This was calculated aggression. The creature didn't flee from danger. It attacked first, without hesitation, and showed no fear even when hit with defense pulses strong enough to deter much larger animals. Another test was ordered. This time, a synthetic creature was released into the field, a simulated predator from one of the alien worlds programmed with speed, strength, and tactics. It charged toward the honey badger, jaws open wide, limbs moving in a blur. Yet again, the small earth beast didn't run. It turned, faced the predator, and charged straight at it. The alien simulation lashed out, claws slashing through the air. The honey badger rolled under the attack and leapt for the throat. Synthetic. Fur tore away as it bit and clawed. The simulation was forced to disengage before it could be torn apart completely. A loud alarm sounded. Mission aborted. The simulation had failed. Silence covered the alien camp. No one laughed. No one spoke. Eyes that once looked with amusement now stared with a kind of quiet respect. Vixel stepped forward, approaching the field where the honey badger still paced. His glowing eyes focused on the creature. A mental message was sent, hoping to read the animal's emotions. Nothing came back. No fear, no submission. Just hunger, wild instinct, and something else. Something that didn't exist in most creatures. Unshakable defiance. The alien turned back to his kind, his thoughts heavy. This creature, so small and unimpressive in appearance, possessed a trait that had brought empires to their knees, complete disregard for power. One by one, the alien scientists began their analyses. They measured the honey badger's muscle density, its pain resistance, its brain activity. Everything pointed to one truth. This was not simply a predator, but a survivor. It could withstand venom. It could fight animals many times its size. It didn't run from danger. It ran toward it. In a galaxy where many species evolved to avoid threats or rely on technology to dominate, here was a creature that relied only on its own spirit, and that spirit could not be broken. Discussions began to stir among the alien observers. If Earth had birthed such a creature naturally, what did that say about the world itself? What about the beings who lived alongside it? Humans. Perhaps this tiny creature was not an outlier, but a reflection of Earth's true nature. Fierce, unpredictable, and impossible to dominate. Vixel turned again, this time toward the human handlers who stood in quiet satisfaction. His voice returned, not with arrogance, but with a curious calm. "You call this creature the honey badger?" One handler nodded, stepping forward. "It doesn't care who or what stands in its way. It never backs down." Vixal paused, then looked once more at the honey badger, who had now claimed the shattered remains of the drone as its personal trophy. "We have seen beasts across the stars that breathe fire and twist space," the alien leader said softly. "But never have we seen one so small, so relentless, and so fearless." With that, the aliens began recording data with urgency, marking this moment as historic. Not because they had witnessed a mighty creature crush buildings or fly across oceans, but because they had seen, for the first time in their travels, a beast that truly didn't know fear. And in the hearts of those who watched, both alien and human, something shifted. Respect was no longer given based on size or strength. It was earned through spirit. And the honey badger, small and wild, had claimed it without saying a single word. The day after the honey badger's display, the alien vessel orbiting Earth experienced an unusual silence. Inside the high chambers of the Zalari command ship, minds buzzed not with scornful jokes, but with serious debate. The data collected from the previous day's encounter revealed more than just physical toughness. It hinted at a kind of behavioral anomaly the galaxy rarely witnessed. This creature didn't behave as expected. Pain was ignored, threats didn't cause retreat, and its persistence bordered on insanity. All simulations designed to test aggression thresholds had failed to control it. The leading xenobiologist, aboard the vessel, an ancient being named Zor-En, presented findings that made even the most seasoned commanders lean forward in interest. The honey badger's nervous system processed pain differently. Its adrenaline responses were off the charts. Even more fascinating, its aggression levels did not diminish under pressure or fatigue. That was unprecedented. Across thousands of explored worlds, most life forms followed a predictable biological pattern. Fight when needed, flee when necessary, survive by calculation. But this was something else entirely, something that challenged the very foundation of Zalari logic. Back on Earth, within a quiet research outpost hidden in the African savanna, the honey badger rested in a reinforced pen. Not sedated, not calmed, simply watched. It had earned that much. Around it, handlers moved with caution and care, fully aware that their little guest didn't care for their approval. Outside, vehicles approached, engines humming softly. Another diplomatic group had arrived from the Zalari ship, this time not to mock or measure, but to study, learn, and perhaps understand. The visitors stepped down, more respectful than before. No jokes, no questions about lions or elephants, only quiet greetings and notepads ready. The leading alien scientist, with skin like glowing quartz and fingers long and jointless, stepped forward. His gaze fell on the creature behind the thick steel barrier, and he spoke not to belittle, but to appreciate. Its size deceives, its eyes speak rebellion. Meanwhile, deep within the diplomatic chamber of Earth's United Space Council, news of the encounter had already stirred conversation. Footage of the honey badger ripping apart simulation drones played on screens in loops, sparking laughter, shock, and pride. One representative from the Asian Confederacy leaned forward with a grin. It's not the beast's strength that frightened them, it's that they couldn't break it. Another, from the Nordic colonies on Mars, nodded slowly. It's a message, isn't it? That Earth's spirit doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it just refuses to kneel. Plans began forming. The encounter had opened a door. Diplomacy, once trembling before alien superiority, now walked with a straighter spine. The galaxy had witnessed Earth's greatest message not through war or speech, but through a 10-kilogram tank of fur and teeth. While meetings unfolded, a second phase of observation began at the alien camp. The Zilari, curious beyond pride, introduced new creatures from their own worlds. One by one, they attempted non-lethal encounters. A scaled runner from their desert moon, fast and clever. A hive-spawned mimic from the fungal forests, able to shift shapes and disorient. A tranquilizer-laced synthetic with enough muscle to wrestle jungle predators from 5 worlds. The result each time? Resistance, ferocity, and unrelenting madness. The honey badger would not back down. When overwhelmed, it adapted. When bitten, it bit back harder. When trapped, it found gaps. And when faced with creatures twice its size, it didn't hesitate. It attacked first. By the 3rd day, no alien dared enter the test field. Respect had hardened into awe. No longer was this seen as entertainment. It had become a study in survival. The Zilari leader, Vixal, called a closed meeting aboard his flagship. Around the vast crystalline table sat his advisors, warriors, scientists, and diplomatic envoys. The footage played again, not with sound or narration, just the raw visuals of the honey badger engaging with alien challenges. Vixal didn't blink as he watched the creature leap onto the back of a simulation beast, clawing and snarling as synthetic skin tore beneath it. At last, he stood and turned to his assembly. This is not a predator of dominance. This is a predator of defiance. It does not conquer. It does not rule. It survives, by choice, by rage, and by nature. And it reminds us why Earth, as primitive as it may seem, remains untouched by fear. No one spoke. The message had landed. In the days that followed, stories spread across different species and systems. The tale of the Earth beast that didn't retreat. Children on far-off mining colonies acted out its charge with play claws. Merchants in trading hubs sold tiny plush badgers with glowing red eyes. Some called it a legend already, the beast of Earth's fury. Others, more serious, began to question what else the planet held. If such a creature existed in the wild, what kind of society thrived around it? What kind of beings chose to protect it instead of imprison it? And what kind of culture let such madness roam freely? Back on the savannah, evening fell. The skies burned orange, and the honey badger wandered within its enclosure, gnawing on bones from its last meal. Nearby, a group of alien and human scientists sat quietly, no longer taking notes but simply watching. Every now and then the creature would stop, sniff the wind, and turn its head toward the watchers. In its dark eyes there was no gratitude, no curiosity, only raw, wild confidence. It feared nothing. It obeyed no one. And in that moment, as the wind carried the sounds of night across the plains, both species felt the truth settle in their bones. The galaxy had many monsters, some hid in shadows, some ruled with iron claws. But Earth had something different, something purer, meaner, and far more unpredictable. A beast that didn't care about the odds, one that would fight even when outmatched, and that kind of spirit couldn't be bred, cloned, or built in labs. It had to be born. The honey badger, Earth's smallest warrior, had reminded the stars that fear was not a requirement for survival. Sometimes madness was enough. Weeks passed, and the story of the honey badger spread like wildfire across the stars. It became more than a tale of survival. It turned into a lesson, a symbol, a spark that shifted how the galaxy saw Earth. On trade stations orbiting red dwarfs, and in research labs buried deep beneath moons, creatures who once laughed at Earth's wild things now studied them with wary respect. Holoscreens displayed replays of the tiny mammal snarling at titans, standing atop defeated test drones, refusing to give in to pain or threat. The Zilari archives logged the honey badger under a new category: non-classifiable aggressor, a label not used since the discovery of a solar flare-eating organism 2 centuries ago. But this time, it wasn't about size or power. It was about attitude. In the eyes of galactic diplomats, this little predator embodied something rawer, older, something most species had lost long ago. Word of this spread not just through military channels or science forums, but through the hidden lanes of mercenaries, pirates, and black market dealers. For the first time, Earth's wildlife became a subject of interest, not for trade or preservation, but as a symbol of resistance. The Zalari, council once amused by Earth's primitive life forms, shifted focus entirely. Missions to Earth were no longer just scientific or diplomatic. They were cautious, calculated, and always carried a quiet reverence. Every landing shuttle now included protocols on wildlife awareness, not for safety alone, but out of respect. Representatives avoided jokes, aware that their laughter once echoed in arrogance. During one summit between Earth and 3 galactic species, a Zalari ambassador gifted the Earth delegates a hand-carved obsidian statue of the honey badger, calling it the spirit of relentless defiance. Across the room, heads nodded. It wasn't just a gesture. It was an apology, an acknowledgement, and a reminder. The creature had become Earth's unofficial emblem in space. Not the eagle, not the lion, but a tough, grumpy ball of muscle that couldn't care less about hierarchies or galactic protocols. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the original honey badger remained in the observation enclosure, largely unaware of the storm it had kicked up across the galaxy. It didn't care for attention or cameras or visitors who watched from behind reinforced glass. It lived its days the same way it always had, eating, sleeping, clawing, and challenging anything that wandered too close. The scientists observing, it stopped trying to tame it long ago. Instead, they watched and learned. Every growl, every sudden attack, every escape attempt, it all taught them something. New behavior models were created, security systems reprogrammed, AI simulations rewritten. What had started as a joke became a turning point in alien understanding of Earth's ecosystems. Other animals began to be reevaluated. The wolverine, the Tasmanian devil, the African wild dog, all reassessed under new parameters. Earth's nature wasn't just brutal, it was brilliant in its madness. Within weeks, a training video began circulating through Zalari defense fleets, featuring footage of the honey badger's resistance. Not as a target, but as a mental framework. Troops were taught to adopt the Earth Beast mindset, to hold ground when cornered, to press forward when wounded, to never assume size meant superiority. Military instructors across several species adopted the term Badger Protocol, instructing soldiers to emulate the creature's refusal to back down. Some questioned the sanity of it all, but none could deny its results. Training simulations showed a 17% increase in close combat endurance after introducing the psychological approach. In less official circles, rebel fighters and outlaws began spray painting honey badger icons on their ships. Don't poke the badger became a warning symbol for unpredictable resistance. Earth's reputation, once seen as rustic and unsophisticated, shifted to something raw and dangerous. Not because of weapons, not because of numbers, but because it had beasts that didn't fear death. On the diplomatic front, invitations arrived in waves. Earth's councils received messages from distant planets once dismissive, now eager to collaborate. Biologists from water worlds wanted to study Earth's predators. Diplomats from high-gravity civilizations wanted to understand the mental fortitude behind such defiance. Even synthetic species who felt no fear or pain found themselves fascinated by the honey badger. Not because it won every battle, but because it never admitted defeat. In meetings, Earth's representatives stopped explaining human politics or technological development. Instead, they presented something more effective, a short video, less than 2 minutes long. The screen would go black, then flicker to life with a simple image, a honey badger growling at the base of a massive alien drone, bloodied but standing, refusing to fall. That, they would say, is Earth. Elsewhere, in the darker parts of the galaxy, mercenary groups and black ops teams tried capturing a honey badger, not for study, not for science, but to weaponize it. Several attempts were made. All ended the same way, with bloodied armor, broken cages, and silent failure. Even advanced tranquilizers didn't always work. One infamous attempt resulted in a rogue badger escaping into a spaceport and disabling 3 maintenance bots before being cornered. The story spread quickly. The creature was never caught again. Rumors whispered of a ghost badger haunting cargo freighters and engine. Rumors, true or not, the legend only grew. Earth authorities laughed when they heard the tales, but secretly updated containment procedures and surveillance just in case. Back at the Zalari research station, the original footage of the honey badger's first encounter played quietly in the background. A young alien student paused the video and stared at the screen, eyes wide. "It doesn't win because it's strong," he said softly to his mentor. "It wins because it doesn't know it's supposed to lose." The mentor nodded slowly, looking out the window at the stars. Perhaps that is Earth's true power. In that moment, everything became clear. The honey badger was never meant to represent Earth's danger. It was never trained or engineered or planned. It simply existed, untamed, unafraid, unstoppable. And in its existence, it sent a message louder than any warship or planetary defense system. Earth did not need size. It did not need numbers. It only needed one thing: the will to never yield. And so, in a galaxy filled with titanic beasts and cosmic giants, the fiercest legend became the smallest warrior, not because it conquered worlds, but because it made the stars remember something they had forgotten. Fear is natural, but true defiance is a choice. And sometimes, the smallest creature carries the loudest roar,